Buried beneath the scorching African sun, a man was laid to rest. His family mourned, his grave was sealed, and life moved on. But years later, something impossible happened. He came back. Not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as flesh and blood. His name was Clairvius Narcissus, and his case remains one of the most terrifying real-life zombie stories ever recorded. Could dark forces have brought him back? Or is there a deeper, more horrifying truth behind Africa's zombie legends? By the end of this video, you'll uncover the real-life African zombie story no one believes. It happened in 1962. Clairvius Narcissus, a man from Haiti with deep African roots, fell sick. His body burned with fever, his breathing slowed, and soon, doctors at the hospital pronounced him dead. His family, devastated, performed the traditional burial rites and laid him to rest in the dry, cracked earth. For them, it was over. He was gone. But 18 years later, in 1980, a man walked into his village, a man who looked eerily familiar. His sister, stunned and shaking, stared at him in disbelief. It was Clairvius, the man they had buried almost 2 decades ago. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a hallucination. He was real, and the story he told was chilling. Clairvius claimed he had never truly died. Instead, he had been turned into a zombie. He described how he had been paralyzed, trapped in his own body, hearing every sound, feeling every movement, but unable to scream or fight back. He remembered being buried alive. He felt the weight of the dirt pressing down on his chest, but he couldn't move. Hours later, he was dug up not by rescuers, but by a boker, a dark magician who practiced the art of zombie making. The boker had enslaved him, forced him to work on a remote sugar plantation alongside other zombies, men and women with empty stares, no will of their own, obeying orders like lifeless puppets. They were given a strange powder, something that clouded their minds, stole their free will, and left them trapped in a waking nightmare. For years, Clairvius worked under the brutal rule of the boker, until one day, his master died, and the spell broke. Slowly, he regained his thoughts, his memories, his identity, and he returned home, desperate to prove he was still alive. But the village was divided. Some believed his story, whispering about the dark powers that could bring a man back from the grave. Others called it madness, a trick of the mind. But this was not just a story passed down through generations. Clairvius' case was documented, studied, and investigated. And what researchers found was even more disturbing. Across the African continent, legends of the dead rising are not new. In many cultures, there are stories of people vanishing, only to return years later, confused, changed, or under a spell. Some say these are lost souls, trapped between the world of the living and the dead. Others believe they are victims of a sinister ritual, one that has existed for centuries. In some West African traditions, a person can be cursed to become a Zuvembia, a lifeless being controlled by powerful magic. It is believed that certain spiritual leaders, feared by many, hold the knowledge to bring the dead back, but not as themselves. These zombies lose all sense of identity. They do not resist, they do not question, they simply obey. The rituals are said to involve secret potions, powerful chants, and sometimes the use of poisonous plants. In some regions, people believe that those who wrong powerful sorcerers are punished this way, forced to become mindless servants. Their souls stolen, their bodies left to wander. But could any of this be real? Could there truly be forces that turn the dead into the living once more? Or is there something else hiding in the shadows? Something far more terrifying than superstition? Scientists have studied cases like Clairvius Narcissus, trying to find logical explanations, and what they discovered is chilling. One of the strongest theories involves tetrodotoxin, a deadly toxin found in pufferfish. In small doses, this toxin can cause a person to fall into a death-like state. Their heartbeat slows, their breathing becomes almost undetectable, and they appear dead. But they're not. Someone were given this toxin, declared dead, and later dug up. They would wake up confused, disoriented, and vulnerable, just like the so-called zombies described in African and Haitian legends. But that's not all. Scientists believe there's another element at Platitura, a hallucinogenic plant that causes confusion, memory loss, and extreme suggestibility. If someone were given a combination of tetrodotoxin and datura, they could be made to believe anything. They could be turned into slaves, working in fields for years without even realizing what had happened to them. So, was Clervius Narcissus a victim of this terrifying drug-induced state? Was he poisoned, buried alive, and then revived to be used as a slave? Or is there something more sinister at play, something beyond the reach of science? Clervius Narcissus' story is not unique. Over the years, more cases have surfaced, people declared dead, only to return, confused and altered. Even today, in remote parts of Africa, whispered stories tell of people who were taken, transformed, and then released forever changed. But here's the real question: if these ancient rituals and poisons truly exist, could they still be used today? Could there be people out there, right now, trapped in a zombie-like state, working under the control of someone else? Or is this something far darker than we can imagine? What do you think? Was Clervius Narcissus really turned into a zombie? Or was he just another victim of a strange but explainable phenomenon? Let's discuss in the comments. If you love mysterious African legends and chilling real-life horror stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Shadow Tales Africa for more. Who knows? The next story might be even scarier than this one.